Welcome. So in this video, we'll just be talking about some of the Jujutsu Kaisen Q&A that's come out recently. All the questions and answers are not even translated into English yet. However, I think most of them are here by now. Shout out to Myth. He's one of the weekly leakers and he has most of them just lined up on his page if you wanted to check them out himself. But in this video, I thought that I would go over some of the more important ones that involve like Nobara's fate, the inspiration of Yuta's character with Rika, all the above. So, I'm sure you guys just want to see them. Let's get into it. So this question has, in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, Yuta was the main character, but in the main series, he wasn't introduced for a while Gojo was reintroduced almost instantly. Was this necessary to get the series back on track? And did you have some kind of certainty regarding this? So this question is basically asking, like, why would you put Yuta on the back burner for so long until chapter 139? And then just have Gojo pop up straight away, although they were both in the one shot. You get what I'm saying? And Gege's answer is, this was to just have Gojo guide Yuji and introduce him to the other characters in the school. And Gojo was necessary as a mentor. Before the serialization of Jujutsu Kaisen, I received advice from my editor, Mr. Katayama, who suggested that wouldn't writing this story just be simpler without Yuta? That's what he's basically saying. And Gege agreed, so he did not put Yuta at the beginning of the story. When I resolved to not introduce Yuta immediately, I resolved to position Jujutsu Kaisen 0 itself, which was serialized in Jump Giga as a mythic work from the perspective of the main Jujutsu Kaisen series. On the other hand, there's no option to leave out Gojo. It's like having my hero without All Might. And All Might is a top tier character. I don't care what people say. But I think as a mythic work, it may seem like a he's not calling Jujutsu Kaisen 0 like a spin-off, but I think he's more so referring to Jujutsu Kaisen 0 being like a Pokemon Red to Pokemon Gold and Silver, right? Like Gold and Silver is not, it's kind of a direct sequel to Red, but it could be it could exist without it, you know what I'm saying? And Red is not crucial to understanding everything in Gold or the primary point of Gold. There's some things you need Pokemon Red for, but you don't need it to understand what's going on with Gold. You get what I'm saying? It's there, it's a relic, but it's just extra lore. So in this question, Gege was asked in the official Jujutsu Kaisen fanbook, it's mentioned that you studied the first episodes of Bleach and Naruto. Could you tell me more about that? So Gege talks about Naruto first, saying, Naruto is about the relationship between the protagonist Naruto and Kurama. It's like Yuji and Sukuna, or Yuta and Rika and JJK, right? While JJK 0 ended with reconciliation similar to Naruto, it portrays Sukuna as something that's irreconcilable, or sorry for butchering that word. But you can't help Sukuna. And in Bleach, it's about the structure of the story. Ichigo becomes the Soul Reaper of his own volition, despite being involved in unexpected events. In Jujutsu Kaisen, during the scene where Yuji eats Sukuna's finger, a similar emphasis on his own will, like Ichigo, was consciously portrayed. And you can really, if you saw both series, you know exactly what he's talking about when he says this. And I really like the Naruto comparison because everybody made this comparison when the series was just coming out. Everybody was like, this is Naruto if Kurama wasn't, you couldn't help Kurama. You get what I'm saying? Everybody made that comparison, and that's why people really enjoyed Sukuna as a character, because he really was a flip on the inner demon trope. So in this question, it asks, in the Nanami versus Mahito battle, it was previously mentioned that Nanami exceeded the author's expectations as a character. Could you elaborate that on a bit more? And Gege says it's the sensation of a single character influencing or changing the script. I didn't want Nanami to die here, but maybe it's inevitable. As I thought about this, Yuji came into the picture, leading to the conclusion that everyone knows. Explaining it this way makes me realize that Nanami was the motivation, but Yuji was the one who ended up surpassing the script. I'm trying to make sure I'm interpreting this correctly. Explaining it this way makes you realize that Nanami. So I think he's just saying there was a lot of feelings into Nanami's character, and basically the same way Yuji saw Nanami is the same way Gege saw him, and that's probably why he put Yuji pulling up on Nanami in that scene. The time within the story is actually quite complex. How do you design it? You gotta remember, this is like, all Jujutsu Kaisen is probably like, what, 3 months? So in terms of time, I was fairly rough with it. I was more focused on ensuring the geographical aspects and consistency align. It was more like, because this person is here, they should be able to meet up at this timing. I regret not having thought more carefully about the temporal aspects. Lesson learned. I really like this question. I really do. Because I think this is referring, it seems more like Shibuya, like the way he's answering it, because this person's here, they should be, and Shibuya had like the timestamps all over the arc, if you remember, it'd be like 11 p.m. this, 11:12 that. I think that's what he's talking about. I don't think he's talking about like the overall timeline of the series, but this is 1 out of 2. This is another question. How deeply did you develop the backgrounds and hidden designs with the 3 main characters in their character development? I have a rough idea in mind, but I haven't decided on the details to that extent. I'm afraid of deciding too much and losing the ability to depict characters in a multifaceted way. I also fear not deciding enough and losing coherence in their development. I want to strike a good balance as I proceed. For Kugisaki Nobara, I have roughly decided on her family background and the stories of her mother and grandmother before coming to the technical school. As for Yuji, there were several parts where necessity was required, such as why did Sukuna's fingers exist in the school, so I thought that in the worst case, it should be set up to the extent that everything was orchestrated by Kenjaku. For Fushiguro, it's based on the death battle, and the rest is as you can see. Excuse me. I like the Yuji part's funny because that's kind of what fans be saying too. Like at this point, bro, we're just like, if we can't explain it, just let Kenjaku. It's Kenjaku did it, and I mean, people are gonna get on Gege for saying this, but he kind of set it up. He made sure he set it up that way in case he can't circle back to this or that. But as far as I'm concerned, like the whole 15 to 16 finger, first finger being in Yuji the entire time thing, I think that's masterful writing. Most people did not even comprehend what Sukuna meant at the beginning of chapter 257, where he was like, Yuji already had a finger this whole time. It was just sealed until the Culling game, and that's why he became a player, because Kenjaku unsealed all of the. It's just such goated writing, and you know what? With a twist being that deep and crazy, if Gege gotta explain the tiny details with just saying Kenjaku did it, hey man, he did a good job making us believe that Kenjaku could have done it, because Kenjaku set up everything in the last 1,000 years. For Nobara, I think this is one of many soft confirmations that she's gone from the story, because there's not really much details except for everything we know, and this is all stuff from before she even came to the school, very early in the series. This is all early stuff from Jujutsu Kaisen. All of this is all he's talking about. He's not talking about anything about how her character would end, her character doing something great, or it's just, oh, I decided that this was her starting point and nothing else. Whereas Yuji's like, this is his starting point, his midpoint, and his end point. And Megumi's like, it's based on the death battle, and the rest of his character is as you can see. And that's probably referring to Sumiki, Sumiki, Toji, etc. What intentions did you have with contrasting Naoya's portrayal with Maki in every sense? I did talk about this on the main channel, and Gege says, I did not introduce Naoya to contrast with Maki. It was decided that Maki would purge the Zenin clan, which is known for its negative reputation, but that does not mean I created characters in a contrasting manner for that reason. Interactions between characters are crucial and essential in a manga, but aiming too much for specific character rules can make future developments predictable and risk losing reader interest. This is another fire response, because this is Gege basically saying, bro, I'm not here to write a typical story. I'm not here to make the mentor die because he needs to let his students go and let them do everything else. I mean, that's kind of what Gojo did. I mean, not intentionally, or he didn't say my students go on without me. He didn't do no Jiraiya type stuff, but he's basically saying that Naoya and Maki are just two characters that were going to butt heads. I did not make Naoya because I wanted him to fit a role in challenging Maki and making her. No, Naoya's natural actions led up to him contrasting with Maki. And he was just a character that was going to be in the story no matter what, like every other single individual character. Gege Akutami wants his characters to feel like real humans before plot devices or anything else. And a lot of people get on Jujutsu Kaisen because characters just die, right? And to that I say, do you get foreshadowing when you die? Like, do you get a warning that you're going to die in real life? No, his intention with the story is to make the characters feel human. He does really good at that. I think people just have read too many stories and expect every story to go in the same way. But if it does go in the same way, it's cliche, it's boring. And if it doesn't, oh, it's ass pull. He don't know what he doing. The series is ending in 5 chapters. Damned if you do, damned if you don't with the anime community. Let's go to the next point. New Gojo drawing on display. I think what? Gege brought up a lot of points. He admits that Sumiki and Hana were not delved into enough. Do think this story is ending very soon because of this. Here, because Hana just did something in the manga, unless he's talking about at the current moment. There was talk about something moving the story along as a tournament. He wanted to do something like a Rescue Gojo arc. He regretted quite a lot about his writing. Until starting the Shibuya Incident, Fate Geto's identity was not determined, and there was the possibility for it being Yuki Tsukumo. What? Yuki could have been a villain? Isn't that crazy? Anyways, let's continue. Gege Akutami regretting a lot. I do like that he admitted this. I think anybody who writes a story would regret a lot when writing it, no matter how they do it or how good it is. Because when you create something, you always look back at it and you say, I could have done better. That's just how it always will be, because you see the finished product and just want to improve it. I was psyched to draw a portrait of the deceased Gojo. I always think I have to draw it so it's cool. For Gojo's okay. This is all cultural, and I think this is supposed to be the cover. Let me see if the comments back this up. Nope, I don't see any comments mentioning it. Oh wait, yeah, I think this is. Yeah, I knew it was supposed to be the cover. I'm like, because that's the one that has the flowers and stuff like that. The story remained quite serious up until the Itadori versus Mahito fight. What were your thoughts while drawing this part? I'll admit, guys, I started reading the series and caught up to this fight. I was one of those people that I was like, yo, this fight needs to end. It's taking. I was like, yo, this fight's taking too long. Can it end already? All jokes aside, I was one of those guys. I was like, and then I realized that it clicked into my head. Jujutsu Kaisen's a little bit different. Anyways, Gege says, I had decided long ago that Yuji and Mahito would settle their fight in the Shibuya Incident, and that Nanami would die as the trigger for this battle. The idea was present from the early planning stages of the Shibuya Incident. The fact that Nanami remained in the story up until this point already had significant meaning. Although he was a favorite character of mine, I felt that not having him exit at that moment would betray the readers. The same goes for Kugisaki. I had decided on her departure at this point as well, but only after allowing her to shine. From that moment, I decided to write a dark story, and I've been committed to seeing it through to the end. Shout out Meth again for all these translations, but you know, and yo, it's kind of crazy that like it I don't know if he decided this before starting the Shibuya Incident, while it was going on, or at the moment that Kugisaki died. But first, this is like a 99 confirmation that she's gone, unless he meant her departure at this point. Like, a departure could mean just leaving and then, you know, coming back. But if it's a permanent departure, and then he says that, like, I decided to write a dark story and I want to see it through to the end, I wonder what's gonna happen, bro. This could be a Tokyo Ghoul kind of thing where the story doesn't really focus like it does, but it focuses on the many parts around the protagonist too. And then the second story takes on like running with the protagonist being the main focus. Second part, like Ri was all about Kaneki. Like, there was no Amon, like there was in the original. If you read Tokyo Ghoul, you get what I'm saying. But Jujutsu Kaisen Part 2 could happen. It really could. I mean, I don't think there'd be like a Yuji 2 or something, but maybe a world where like we see what happens about the new world with curse energy changing, and it might be a whole new power system. But I don't think that the story's gonna end with like a good ending. I don't, because even if they beat Sukuna at this point, the murder what will be the merger, and they're not going to be able to handle it. And I can't just see Megami being saved at the end and the story ending. You get what I'm saying? But to see Gege say that, it does make me worried. I'm one of those people who are slowly believing that everybody's gonna lose at the end. Sukuna's gonna die. Everybody's gonna die due to the merger. I think that like everything will literally be reset and will be like a part 2 series, but we won't see most of the characters. Anyways, let's continue. Kashimo was envisioned as a character with a personality like a serial killer or a psychopath. Oh, sorry. I think if you guys saw my Nobody Understands Kashimo analysis, I did point out that Kashimo was very much like a psychopath. But again, I still love his ending because even a psychopath can look at Sukuna's journey and be like, this dude is living a pointless existence. I love Kashimo's journey. Originally, Megami was the protagonist, and there were many more depictions of Sumiki, and she would appear at the very start of chapter 1. I will skim through the draft chapter in this video, but yeah, there was a lot of Sumiki in the original chapter. Nanami was a competent desk worker, but a character who always complained. He is more aligned with curse users and even killed non-sorcerers. Itadori was not envisioned as a character who would achieve great success, but he was meant to be a support character for Megami with a less significant connection to Sukuna. Yuji's name did not change from the beginning, but Megami's name is completely different from the original. Gege is aware of the lack of depiction around Sumiki as a character. I do think Sumiki did get shafted as a character because Gege had huge plans for her and just threw them out the window when he had to change up the entire Jujutsu Kaisen story. Probably just did not feel encouraged to continue with that plot point. There's also an idea for Choso's relationship with Yuji where he would say, "You killed my brother, so you must become my brother in his place." But Gege put a lot, I'm so happy that did not happen, by the way. Gege put a lot of effort into drawing Gojo for the cover of volume 26, but it didn't turn out very well. He feels that drawing the cover for Jump was easier. Yeah, I think most people can agree. I like the cover, but I do like that he has regrets about it, because it does show that like he thinks he can be even better. It's like Ishida Sui. You know what I'm saying? You guys know I love Ishida Sui if you're from the original 100 channel. And Ishida Sui dropped 2 of the best series ever, and this dude's like, I can do even better. And judging from Trojan X, he's doing even better. But let's continue. Gege thinks that he's not doing great in his art, but sometimes it's not for the readers. On contrary to that, drawing the covers of Jump will be easier. I do think Gege does a good job at his art. It gets the point across. Like, I see what's going on. The fights look great, and people do love that rough, grim kind of art style for Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean, I do. It's okay, in the early draft of 236. So in the original Gojo Death chapter, this is supposed to be Geto with like his high school cut on, which is nice. I don't understand. That should have been, I do think that should have been it. Changes were also made to the background characters. I love this panel to the right too. Perfect. This is top tier paneling. The hand, Sukuna looking away, Gojo, in the chapter ending, like Gojo expressing his regrets about not being able to reach Sukuna, yet he couldn't. The chapter ending with him being more wrong than ever as Sukuna stands in front of him with his chest open, just embracing Gojo as an opponent, saying, "You've cleared my skies." Chef's kiss, bro. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss, man. I can't believe so many people hated this chapter when it came out. It is still the strongest chapter in the series to me. And I think this is a chapter that people should really reread once in a while. It's just really look at this chapter, look at Gojo's character, and think about it. Wow, perfect chapter. What's this? Chapter 74. It's from the hidden inventory, I think. Yeah. It just looks like a Toji shot. Gojo's death sketch. He was like, oh no, he didn't say that. What's this? More early drafts from 236. Again, shout out to Myth. This is the original sketch from 214. 212. That's 212. Yeah, 212. This is the original Jujutsu Kaisen, where Megumi was supposed to be the protagonist, and the dialogue is Megumi in Sukuna's body saying, "You're a sorcerer," and Gojo's like, something like that. This is, I think, Gojo's like top left bottom. Then Megumi starts laughing. Yuji's like, "Who the hell are you? Can it? I'll kill you." This is what he says. Mind you, the Culling game was supposed to be at the very beginning of the series. The series is supposed to revolve around the Culling game. Hence is why Sukuna's talking about it here. This is more early sketches, but they were gonna fight. And let me see if I can find it. I do want y'all to like experience this on y'all own. Hold up. I think this is the original first chapter here. This is Yuji doing nonsense. This is Yuji's grandfather passing away, and that was Sumiki's original design. She's 17. I think Megumi's like 15 here. And Sumiki, remember, Sumiki is supposed to be like a big character. She's basically the same doting sister, but they don't fight as much in the original, I believe. You know, they don't fight as much, so there wouldn't be no Megumi saying things like, "I should have been a better brother," things like that. They actually got along in this series. And this is Gojo. I don't think he put this in order, but I do think Yuji and Megumi were both new to Jujutsu Society. Then this is Maki, Panda, Inumaki at Megumi's chair, because you know Sukuna's in his body in this version of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I think Yuji tried to save Megumi here, but Maki just sat on him and told him stop moving. And then Sukuna took over Megumi's body again while he was in the chair, and Yuji's like, "You're the guy from earlier," and Gojo's like, "Chill out. I mean, as long as he's here, nothing's gonna hurt Megumi's body." And yeah, it's like an alternative timeline. I don't think really any information in this fake chapter is important. There's one thing I wanted to go over. Oh, this. Nanami was supposed to be the main, like, the first antagonist. And he was working the office shop. He got sick of working it, so he just killed everybody instead of going back to Jujutsu Society and being a good person. It's more of, this is basically Higuruma's character, but I guess this is where Higuruma came from, because Gege had to dispose of this idea as the first antagonist of his original story. So yeah, Nanami was going to be the first antagonist. Here's more ink sketches of 236. And I think that's it. There's more Q&As. We'll click on those. Why not? I had the hidden inventory one up here too. You said that in Kyoto Goodwill that you spread around on certain variables. Could you explain how it's different from your usual method? I wrote about it in the character book, but what I first did was position the characters without thinking of the scenarios. Setting aside Mai and Toto that already appeared, I was conscious about the characters being easily misunderstood, like having a butler character appear. I even went and bought a book about tea and manners, or maybe even have a baseball club character. I settled on an exorcist and a machine, and I'm glad for it. Excuse me. Not Nishimiya, somebody easily grasped by her visuals. I had a rare drive to draw cute for the first time, but I've heard a lot from women that if you're cute or not, you're still looked down on, and at some point her character swung more towards don't underestimate me. After that, I wanted something closer to the readers, a character that was a decent person, so I threw in the class president type Miwa. Was Mekamaru's role as the mole decided from the start? Mekamaru's... Why was it written like this? So Gege says to this, Mekamaru was a character who could be in the role of the mole, not that he would do it, but he could do it, so it was among the plausible candidates. To begin, this was the guy who might have been the one from the baseball club. Someone called Under Kenjaku was among the higher ups, and then it was a matter of having them do it, getting them to do it, or they themselves weren't aware of it. Blah. Of the Kyoto school characters, I believe all but Toto was potentially the mole. After the Goodwill event was finished, I came to the decision that it would be simplest to go with Mekamaru and that this would go over best with readers. So this dude's deciding these things as it goes and how it feels and how natural it would feel according to a story. Different philosophy behind this guy. How did you put together the second year students' fights, how the various members of the Kyoto school would appear, and who to pit against each other during the chaotic battle. When two characters fight, I don't think there needs to be a reason more than which characters bring out the better of each other. I'll just reword that sentence. And the balance between winners and losers. I didn't want to make any power rankings, so I made it a team battle that made it easy to create situations where, although someone might have won the fight, the match was, from the start, I had no intention to have it be about individual bouts. So he just doesn't, Gege does not want y'all power scaling, basically. Could you explain how the Black Flash was created during this arc? My editor at the time had opened, I don't know what that word is, that he wanted Itadori to have a special move. I thought that didn't feel right to me, so I think it was born from the idea of a move that most people can't do, resulting in first Divergent Fist, then Black Flash being created. I think of it of the critical hits from the game Onimusha is like a counter move you see in a lot of RTAs. It's not a unique move. I like that it's not a unique move, as well as how your voltage increases upon using it. Its explosiveness generates hype, and being able to use it back to back enables comebacks. And since I made it so that enemies can generate black flashes as well, it created tension. Has only one curse done a black flash? I mean, I guess Sukuna too, right? That's fire though. Yo, he cooked with the black flash. I don't care what nobody says, yo. The black flash is my favorite thing in Jujutsu Kaisen. And seeing Yuji and Sukuna just roll these things back to back in the most recent chapters, you don't know how things are gonna go. And that was the purpose of it, because he says he wanted to create tension with the Black Flash. You cooked, Gege. When it comes to special moves, I believe it's necessary to have a good drawing sense. What were you thinking of when drawing the impact panels? I just think about drawing it as well as I can and as cool as I can. What do you think about Origin of Obedience as a movie, as a whole? At that point, I had been going at full pace, so I tried to return to what was the basics of Jujutsu, horror. And there was not enough story with the Kosen first year 3-man cell, so I wanted to add enemy forces before the Shibuya incident. And if I ideally wanted to create some sort of conflict with Yuji, I had to fit in some content about Fushiguro and Sumiki somewhere, which all created the path forward, I believe. Okay, so we just wanted to get more 3-man cell content. And then how do you feel about drawing them as a 3-man cell? He talks about how he just wanted everybody to pop off during the Origin of Obedience. And after the battle was over, I felt a sense of drama with Yuji and Nobara's conversation. Could you tell me what your intentions were there? Gege would say that I had no deep intentions with that. It was a rare win for Jujutsu, but as what was fought were humans instead of cursed spirits. It could not end with everyone patting themselves on the back. I couldn't punish them for their sins, but I needed to balance that with their conviction and convey it to the readers. So it naturally ended up like that. I believe creators who do a lot of battles are probably always thinking the same thing. Okay. So I think that little conversation they had when Yuji was carrying Nobara and she was talking about like chairs and stuff, pretty sure what that's referring to. And then this is the most recent information. I think we'll probably get one for Shibuya. I'll cover that if need be. But this should be it after this video. And let's just go over the hidden inventory Q&A. Please tell me what spurred you to enter the flashback art at this timing. Arc. I don't know why that says arc. I had already wanted to do a flashback arc for dramas. Flashbacks do not get a good reception, is what I heard from my editor, but I wanted to show my own approach to it. The reason it was done at this timing because one of the big events of the Shibuya incident was Gojo being sealed. Without the flashback arc, it just wouldn't sit right with the readers. So I threw it in as close to it as possible. Okay, so I guess could the hidden inventory arc been thrown in at any point of the series? I do think it was most effective being right before Shibuya because we saw Toji, you know, the three main characters show up in their own ways, I guess, and have their own big moments each. In the Shibuya incident, what kind of goal were you thinking with the drama? The flashback arc had the character of Gojo and Geto, so I had the outlook that I can make it interesting. But as I just said, a flashback arc without the protagonist showing up will result in a decline of rankings and reader response, is what my editor at the time, Mr. Katayama, told me. So I went then maybe this will connect to the present day, and thought that by continuing to convey that to the readers, it would all be alright. So let's give it a go. And when in being creating the overall structure, so I guess my goal with it was the question mark of it all, the questioning of it all. I don't know what this is trying to convey, but I kind of disagree with this point here, because I'll tell you guys this: the Sakamoto Days flashback arc was, I did not like it. It's the only arc of Sakamoto Days I did not like, and it had Sakamoto at the forefront. I do think the ending was very strong, but everything else was just boring. I think they could have cut that arc in half. So I think nowadays, if we're gonna do flashback arcs, let's not, you know, I think doing it with other characters like the primary antagonist or the mentor, like just not the protagonist. I don't think protagonists in flashback arcs are very interesting or mirrors of the protagonist, like previous incarnations, like how Magi did it. I think flashback arcs should stay away from the protagonist and focus on mentors or antagonists. So how was the character of Fushiguro Toji born? At the start of the story, there was the problem of Yuji being too weak, but as the story progressed, the problem became that now instead Megumi might be too weak. So I introduced Megumi's father, using the method of creating fated conflict as my then editor, Mr. Katayama, taught me. At first, I was thinking of making him be like Kenny from Attack on Titan, but then I was drawn to the presence of Yamaji-san and think he ended up like the worker Jason Statham. The way he does the things that sorcerers hate is like Kirisugu from Fate Zero. I know that ain't who I think it is. Hold on, ain't this Jason Statham, bro? Yeah, the dude from the villain from Fast 7. I forgot he became a hero, but I know him as the villain from Fast 7. What? I don't know what he does in the new movies now. Y'all tell me if he's like Toji or something. He was a dope villain from what I remember. But yeah, I guess I don't know how this helps Megumi out either, but let's continue. Lastly, when looking at the flashback arc's reception, did it make you analyze any part of it? Gojo and Geto had a lot of popularity, so it was huge that Toji took off like he did. In the end, a large part of how manga's received is due to its characters. And separate from that, Jujutsu Kaisen is not a story where Yuji wants to become something like the Pirate King, Hokage, hero, whatever. So even if the story strays into a side path, it doesn't raise a huge fuss and it might be accepted. But this is also a weakness of Jujutsu, so I'll be careful next time. And then this is just a summary, who cares? Let's keep it stacked. And one last thing here, I guess, about Riko. This is why I do think this is why Riko's character is important and why Gojo actually kind of cared about her and wanted to do the extra day on like protecting her, is because Riko was not worldly and she never had normal experiences. She never surely would have gone to a public aquarium, so this was her image of her touching a new world, a view that she had never seen before, a new experience. And if you remember, Riko was like the star plasma vessel that got killed, and Gojo wanted to do the extra day because he could empathize with her. Like he could empathize being a not normal human being, having their life determined by fate and all this. So he was like, you know what, let me let this person have one more day before we let her merge with Tengen and she disappears. With that said, that's all the Jujutsu Kaisen news recently, like all the Q&As from Gege, all the information from what I see. Of course, there may be more, and if there is, I'll cover that too. Thanks for watching, guys. I always appreciate you. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about, do on the channel. I like just talking into the camera. It's fun, different. With that said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.